Oh, finally, it's been a 2-year wait. It's come back. Week 1 of the WSOP. Here we go, there's lines in the Rio. Everyone's queuing up. Oh, what dreams are made of. So I'm going to go get some breakfast, then drive to Reading to play this Grosvenor 30-30 series. It's basically Vegas anyway. Look at it, it's just, you know, what's the difference? I'm sure the weather's identical. This is what everyone's after, isn't it? Oh, well, been for a lovely glass of wine and fantastic ribeye. Insert photos here. Oh, beautiful stuff. Thankfully the rain has stopped because it was maybe one of the worst drives on the motorway I've ever had. Absolutely unfucking bearable. Now my only concern is I've just smashed a glass of wine, a steak and some lovely empanada starters with a couple of
Their favourite ever starter, main course, dessert, side dish and drink, not in that order.
Sides, and I'm going to fall asleep at the poker table. So I think what we need to do now, drive down to the casino, and then once we've hit the casino, find a mug of that, a swimming pool of coffee maybe to get me through. So let's see if we can do it. Genuinely no idea what it is in UK casinos, where they have this fear of backpacks. Now, I get it when they're busy, but it's fucking 3 o'clock on a Saturday and I just want to fire up some 25 NL tables, watch the football before a tournament starts. Yeah, I just want to bring a laptop into a casino. Don't understand the problem. Yeah, it's what do they think is in there? I don't get it. Go to American casinos, you can do what the fuck you want wherever you want, whereas this fear of UK casinos, that's why I'm fucking whispering into this camera. Genuinely, it's like get caught on camera now because it's going to be kicked out, so I'm going to enjoy my Guinness and move on. Wow, try not to get ahead of itself, but looks like we've hit the guarantee before today's even started, so that is a bonus.
Okay, people, move along. There's nothing to see here.
Looks like they had 136 runners across the first couple of flights, so F for today is a bonus, so hopefully we can get another 60 or 70 in today. That'd be massive, that'd be really nice. So that would get the prize pool up towards sort of 75k, get towards 25k for first, which is nothing to be sniffed at. Not quite these WSOP dreams that I keep having, but gets us there. So hopefully, yeah. So only 9 registered for today so far, but we've got half an hour to go yet, so don't expect that to be anything. Right. Break 1, still alive. Feeling a bit ropey, a bit tired, but it's just these bright lights and fucking car driving at the wall. But glass of water will sort us right out. So had a roller coaster on first 3 levels. Haven't got above starting stack, or very little if I did. Dusted off from 30k down to 6k, and then slowly chipped away, and then got a nice little double, a couple of hands before break. Made a note of all the hands, so we will magically jump to the office and run through those now, and then hopefully I'll see you at the next break or at the end of the day. and not for a early bust. Oops. Okay, quite a mundane start to the day. We're in the third level and this is the first real hand of interest. We pick up Jack 8 of hearts in the low jack. The blinds are 1 200 with a 200 big blind ante. I can see the comments already. Well, how's Jack 8 of hearts in the low jack the first interesting hand, because it's a clear fold? Well, I make the classic mistake in a live poker game here of it's been well over an hour since I've really played any hands. It's been a really slow start to the day and I'm getting a bit bored and I'm kind of just pushing the action a little bit, which is always wrong. You should never do it. You should stick to your guns. Otherwise it leads to small mistakes lead to bigger mistakes, as we're about to find out. So obviously, as you can tell, we raise to 500 from the low jack. It folds round to the button, who makes it 1.6k to go. Not too many reads on the button. He seems like a below average reg. I guess local grinder, doesn't play this big normally. So not much to worry about. It's going to be fairly ABC. So you'd assume his free betting range is quite value heavy, and you wouldn't really be calling loose free bets out of position. And also calls. I think that call from a guy in his 40s or 50s probably tells us all we need to know about that player and confirm the reads that, you know, he is an absolute killer up until now. And folds back to us. Well, it doesn't. Yeah, big blind folds and it's back on us. So obviously with the Jack 8 of hearts, the only reason we talk about this hand is because I've made another terrible decision and decided to call. So questionable raise pre-flop, very questionable call on the flop. This is why we don't let boredom impact our play. So we go to the flop. Flop is 9-7-6 with 1 heart. So after making a couple of mistakes, we get handed a pretty nice flop. Now, I don't have leads. I don't play like that. I understand that I'm not good enough to play like that. It's something I want to introduce in my game, but I need to study and understand it a bit more before I do. So we check it back to the button, who bets a pretty chunky 45% pot or 2.2k, which freeways on this sort of board texture, I think's, yeah, he's starting to really rep some strong hands here, and I think very few bluffs. So the terrible player in the small blind folds because, you know, it's the right thing to do, and me, who I think is pretty intelligent, we might start to question that now. Decides to free bet to 5.8k. So I leave myself 20k behind. The logic was I've got all the sets, he doesn't. Obviously he's got overpairs, but he can have suited overcards as well. But I don't know if he really does, but in my head I sort of told myself he could have. So you can raise. There's lots of very nice turn cards for us. So we raise, he calls. I think his range is really well defined now. When he flats on the flop, he pretty much has overpairs and overpairs only, and maybe some like overcards with some back doors, but I don't think there's many of those. So 3 of spades on the turn brings a black backdoor flush draw. So I've got 20k, the pot is 16.2. So I think when I've gone back through this, and comment below if you disagree with me, I think there's 2 clear options here. I think check is absolutely fine. I think we get a lot of free turn cards if we check. He's got mostly overpairs, but he's going to start to be scared of sets, potentially. Or we can just rip it and really put him to the test, and I think that would have been a more sensible play. But we go for what in hindsight is the worst option, and we bet 12k or 75% pot, so that's standard. I haven't got a fucking clue what I'm doing, so I'm going to click 3/4 pot bet. Obviously he just flats. Again, I think we all know what he's got here. I think it's becoming very clear. We go to the river. The river brings nothing of interest. I think it's a blank 6. Unsurprisingly, it goes check, check. And he shows us the pocket kings. So I think there's a couple of clear lessons there. Well, let's go with 3 clear lessons. Lesson number 1, I'm not as good as I think I am, and that is going to become apparent throughout this vlog. Lesson number 2 is make sure you stick to your strategies regardless of what your run has been like so far. Don't drift into playing bad cards purely because you're bored. You know, we're supposed to be here from till 2 o'clock in the morning on a 10-12 hour day. We're going to get these spots and we're going to go through runs like that, and if we're not capable of doing that, don't play live tournament poker. And then the third key rule is that stop trying to make average players fold over pairs. It's not a good idea. We'll see in a few hands later on that they just hand you chips, and let them hand you chips. Stop trying to get them to fold top of range. I've been trying to learn that for over 10 years now. Hopefully putting it on video will make it stick. On to the next one. You may have already noticed it, but you're going to start, if not, you'll start noticing a recurring theme in these videos. And it's hands like that and the one coming up that made me do it. There's only one way to get through these sort of situations. Feel the pain easing already. So next hand we come to, blinds are now 100, 300 big blind ante obviously. Because we punted off all our chips, we now have 12k, so 40 big blinds. So action folds to us on the button, we pick up 9s and we raise to 700. Both blinds call. So we go to the flop. The flop is Ace 9-4 rainbow. Now for me that's pretty decent flop with 9s. I think I would say the best flop with 9s almost, somewhere around there. So unsurprisingly the blinds check to me, and we bet 800 into 2.4k. Small blind calls. Big blind who's, well, I'm not even going to describe him because you're about to find out. Check raises to 2.8k. Now I think there's only one option here really when you've got 9s. Our hand is far too strong to, well, I don't think raising achieves anything here. We've only got, we only started the hand with 12k. It feels like it's quite easy to get him by the river anyway. We want him, in the times that he's bluffing, we want him to continue bluffing off, so I think the only option here is call, which we do, and the small blind gets out of the way. So we now have the Queen of Clubs on the turn, which brings a flush draw. Nothing to get excited about here. Adenki has aces and Adenki has queens. I think they're free bet both pre, so I think we have the effective nuts here still. Big blind now fires out 5,500 into 8.8. So quite a big bet, seeing that I only have 10.5 behind. I give it the whole Hollywood of I don't know what to do in this situation. It's so tough. Now I decided to jam here because I only have 10.5 more. The reason I decided on jam is I think you get really weird spots in these live tournaments, whereas I think if I flat 5.5, it just looks super strong when I only leave like 5k behind, and there's a chance that they will just see that as super strong and check a lot of hands on the river, and then also, which means they fold out any marginal hands or any bluffs. So I decided to jam, hoping that he'll just cycle it off, which is exactly what happens, but not with the hand I expected. So he decides to call with the 10-8 off, which I just have no idea at any point in the hand what he is doing. Yeah, clearly, and the reason I didn't describe it, because he's just a fucking maniac. Well, he's not even a maniac. He's just one of those live poker players that he has, for whatever reason, he has decided, I'm winning this hand, and that's all he wants to do is win the hand. And he's just gone, I'm going to find a way to win. And he's decided that on the flop that he's taking this down. And this just reinforces the point I was trying to make earlier. You don't need to do stupid things like I did in the first hand. You will get these gifts. Now, you can't win a tournament on these gifts alone, but it shows you the type of players you're playing against, and you don't need to go get super out of line to do well in these tournaments. People will pay you off, and they will do random shit like this. Obviously, we've still got some outs to avoid. So he's got a gutter ball to the straight. Thankfully, it doesn't hit, it doesn't get there, and we get the full double, which is nice. We're back in the game, back up towards starting stack, and ready to dust it off again. Oh well, it's 9 o'clock and we're already home, which can only mean one thing: it did not go well. Just those sort of things at tournament poker sometimes. Just wasn't our day. Played okay. I'll let you decide that in a second. We'll discuss some big hands, talk about some scenarios, flame away in the comments if I fucked them up. Back after break, and not long into the action, we pick up the pocket aces in the low jack. My guess is, I'm pretty sure, like, if we're raising, or if I'm raising Jack 8 of hearts in the low jack, pretty sure you should also raise aces. So I'm happy with this play. I think raising aces here seems okay. So the blinds are 200, 400, 400 big blind ante, and I make it 900 to go. And because we're playing a £400 live event, the cut-off calls, the small blind calls, and the big blind calls. So we are 4 ways to the flop. The flop is Jack 7-8, 2 hearts. Thankfully we have the ace of hearts, so not the greatest flop in the world, but it checks to me, and I still think I'm still comfortable with this. So we fire 20% pot, so we buy 400 into 2k. Purely because if we get any folds betting 20%, then it has to be okay. I think like we're over realising at that point. They've got to be folding. To be calling those sort of hands, I just don't see how they can completely whiff and have zero equity here. So any folds is a good fold, and we get 2 of them. So, and we're back with a small blind. This is again the same small blind from earlier, who flatted the free bet out of position. So this is the super genius reg that I have loads of respect for. So he calls 8 of hearts on the turn, which feels like a fairly terrible card from a small blind flat. Obviously flush draw comes in, he could have lots of 8x, 7-8, lots of everything, so he could have any of this. So it goes check check, then a blank 7 on the river. So obviously, the board is now Jack 7, 8, 7 with 3 hearts out there. So, and he just has lots of 7 and 8. He has lots of suited combos. I think having the ace of hearts doesn't overly matter because he likes all the other 12 suited cards as much as this one. So Obviously, all of that you can see that I'm building up to the fact that he leads for 1.6k, which is, what's that, about 60% pot. So it's not massive, but it's reasonable. If you were sat at the table, you'd think that I'd just been shot in the face, but I'm a bit dramatic here and take a very long time to call it off with the aces, and I just never felt comfortable. I think I knew this gentleman isn't betting a jack here, so what value hands do I beat? And I can't really think of any. Now, I talked myself into I've got the ace of hearts, which is good, but I don't think the ace of hearts matters, because as I say, there's 12 other suited cards that he really likes. So, and he's got loads of 7, he's got loads of 8. He might bet the turn with those, but he's not turning king high into a bluff. He's not turning the other two ace highs into a bluff. So I think aces is a fold here versus this guy, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I think it's because I played the hand so passively and so poorly up to this point. I think this is always something you need to be really careful of, is that when you end up playing these small pots on poor ball, like you tell yourself it's a poor run out for you and you try and check it down, you end up paying off light on the river because you easily talk yourself into a call of like, oh, this is the best hand I'm going to show up here with, when you know it's a fold. So we make the call, and he shows us the king 10 of hearts. I still don't know if he's what he expected to get called by. He seemed very shocked that I took that long to call with aces. He thought I would snap him with aces. So I don't know if that makes me feel better or not. It doesn't. So it is what it is. Play a few more smaller pots. None of them go our way, so we're now at that stage of the tournament where we've got 10 big blinds and it's time for a hope and a prayer. So we pick up ace queen in the big blind, folds to the button jams, has us covered. I think he jams for 15 bigs, and I don't even got much of a decision, so we call with the ace queen in the very preferential spot of he has ace 3 off. Elects to announce to the table that he looked at one card, saw it was an ace, and decided that that's good enough to put 15 big blinds in. So anyone sat at home thinking, oh, I'm not sure if I can play these sort of like £400 events when they come to town, fire away, boys, fire away. You'll be just fine. Obviously, the fact that I'm telling a cheery story at this moment means that we held and there was no drama, so we get the double. Then a few hands later, we pick up pocket 10s under the gun +2, so 22 big blinds at this point. Under the gun, who it's his first hand at the table, makes it 2.5 to go. I think at this stage of the tournament, there's no ICM pressure. I don't want to get overly cute with 10s, so I decide to rip it in. It folds back to the under the gun player, and he shows us jacks. Oh, sorry, he obviously has a call first. Calls pretty quickly, shows jacks. Flop of king 8 deuce. At this point, obviously, I'm sat there. I'm trying to get the jacket on, ready to go. Oh dear. Nice game, gent. See you later. Catch you next time out. And then just as I'm doing that, the 10 drops on the... What do we do? Oh, Lord! Lord, Jesus! Oh, Lord! Oh! Turn. We get the double. We're back in the game. Ace on the river. And we are sitting pretty. Back up to 45 big blinds. Or back up to starting stack, which is 45 big blinds. Happy days. Over the moon. We have been dusting off chips and we get lucky to get them all back, which is very nice. Then a few hands later, we pick up the pocket queens in the big blind. The button, who is the gentleman that we've just done the dirty on, min opens from the button, We make it 5.5x from the big blind, and he flats. Flop comes king 10-8, 2 clubs. We do not have a club, so not the best flop for queens. However, pretty reasonable flop for our range. We have obviously all the ace king that he doesn't. He's got about between 20 and 25 bigs at this point, so I think all his ace king type hands, his pocket tens, are likely to ship on us here, so we have a massive range advantage here. I think these live players, they call some like funky hands with free bets, so they could have a lot of like random king X maybe, but in terms of range versus range, this is very good for us. So we bet 25%, he calls, ace of clubs on the turn, which is probably like the nut low card for our specific hand. Not terrible for range, but for the hand it's not great. So we go check check, and then 7 on the river, and it goes check check again. I think queens is far too strong to turn into a bluff here. We hope that he's just got queen jack that he's given up with, ace, a pair of tens, something like that. Obviously he doesn't have any of those. He shows us the king queen off for the pocket kings and takes the pot down. So just decides to call off 25% of his stack pre-flop with king queen off. Then the very next hand, we pick up ace queen off. The cutoff raises. If you've played poker before, you'll now know that the cutoff is the same gentleman who was the button in the previous hand. So 3 hands in not many, yeah, it's certainly within one orbit of him joining the table. I've gone for my third free bet here, or spoiler alert, we go for our third free bet. So cutoff opens, we jam ace queen off over the top, and we get that through. Obviously now the table talk starts that have I met this guy before, and I say no, I've never met him before, just don't fucking like him.
You're hard.
I'm joking, obviously. So that creates a bit of conversation, and we move on. And then you'll notice the time's running out on the video, so we can see what's going to happen here. We already know, watching me climb up the stairs out of breath, that we didn't get there. So we pick up pocket tens again, 26 big blinds, and we started off playing a hand badly, so let's finish playing a hand badly. Pocket tens in mid position, we min open. Fold to the button, who makes it 9x to go. This guy I've played a lot with. He hasn't. I don't think he recognises me at the moment. I might be wrong, but he's not acknowledged the fact to recognise me. I've not acknowledged the fact I recognise him. We're both dicks. But he's a fairly straightforward player. I don't think he's going to get super out of line here. He's certainly capable of doing some fruity things on occasion, but I think tens is probably, you're better off just folding here. So when you're better off folding, I always jam. We run into jacks again. This time, c'est la vie, we can't get lucky, and it is what it is. We're out the door, and that's that. Well, vlog number 1 didn't go quite to plan. We're £400 in the hole. But worse than that, I think if we'd have been to tournament video 1, it would have been far better for views and subscribers, and this channel might have started with a bit of a rush. But we'll just try and do that next time out. So I hadn't really thought about it. If I just win the tournament next time, then I might get a few subscribers, which would be a bonus. But the only way we can do that is by carry on hitting these events. So hopefully I'm going to try and play as many of these sort of £100 to £500 buy-in events, certainly all the local ones, anything organised by Grosvenor, and then anything else on top of that I find we'll be firing. Hopefully we'll, certainly going into next season, try and get into some satellites onto the GUKPT events. We'll video from those. When we can do that, we can have better fringe content that's not just me sat next to Donald Alley over here talking about my poorly played hand histories, and it won't just be photos of some steak and some red wine. We might actually get some proper food reviews, or maybe out on some golf courses with a few of the other regs, see if they want to come and gamble with me. When I say gamble, I mean get handed cash, handed money playing against me. You're printing. But that just means we've got to carry on recording videos, so hopefully we will continue to do that. In between vlog episodes, I will try and put out weekly videos that will be mostly sort of stuff that's going on in the poker world, things that I've got opinions on, opinions that are far too strong for the topic, that really nobody should care about, but I'll fire off a 10-minute rant that is massively disproportionate to the issue, so look forward to those. If all of that sounds of interest, please hit that subscribe button, drop us a like, it'd be massively appreciated. Tell all your friends, anyone you know, anyone at the tables, it all helps. It'd be good to see where this channel can go. Thanks for watching, see you next time.